My name is Brad Snyder, and I have the honor of introducing the next panel, which is really exciting for me. I want to thank Meridian and all of you for the time and attention dedicated to the subject of military and sport. I forgot to tell you, I'm a 3-time Paralympian, 6-time gold medalist, and 8-time medalist in the sports of swimming and triathlon. Thank you. And I think through those experiences, it's very clear to me that sport has transformed my life. And on September 7th, 2011, I was convinced that I had died. I got blown up in Afghanistan, an IED went off right in front of me, and I laid on the ground afterward thinking I must be dead. Then I had a second chance of life, and I came back to Walter Reed Medical Center here when they told me that I would be blind, but after thinking I was dead, blind was an improvement, a significant improvement. And I remember thinking in the hospital that just because I couldn't see didn't mean that I didn't have a lot to give. I had lived my life of service up until that point, and I wanted to continue to serve my country and be an integral part of our society. And in my mind, disability or blindness or any loss that I sustained in combat didn't mean that I didn't want to be an integral part of our society. And thankfully at that time, someone from the United States Association of Blind Athletes gave me a call and said, "Do you realize how lucky you are to be injured in a Paralympic year?" And that began a really exciting journey for me. Had the opportunity to go to the London Games, won my first gold medal on the exact year anniversary of the day I lost my vision in Afghanistan, and it's been an incredible journey ever since. Now, I've had the opportunity to go around our country and talk about this over and over again, and I have found that my story of transformation through sport is not unique to me at all. Thousands of our homecoming veterans struggle with coming home. They struggle with making those meaningful transitions through sport, and many have found solace and catharsis through participation in sport. And not only have they found individual transformation, but they've been able to inspire their communities. Athletes like Melissa Stockwell, Elizabeth Marks, Dan Knosson, Rico Roman, they've all had the opportunity to inspire others through their incredible journeys of transformation, and it would not be possible without the opportunities we have to get involved in adaptive sports. I know I speak for Team USA when I say that we take very seriously our obligation, our role in stewarding the sports movement in the United States as a leader of all of the sports programs, making sure that we do everything we can to protect and promote opportunities for all individuals, especially our military veterans, to find empowerment through sport programs. It's my honor to introduce our next panel, 3 incredible individuals who are going to talk about some great sport programs focusing on our military veterans. Thank you very much.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for your attendance here today. Excited with that amazing introduction to talk about a lot of the themes that Brad touched on there. This idea of service, military, sports, bringing all the elements today together that we've been talking about. My name's Travis Murphy. I'm the CEO of Jetter Global Sports and Entertainment. We work at the intersection of sports, policy, and diplomacy, helping organizations and governments navigate the geopolitical realities in today's world that increasingly are shaping international sports. When we talk about sports and diplomacy, what people are most often referring to is this idea of how sports is used by the United States or any other nation to talk about a tool to project values, to strengthen alliances, reinforce cohesion in society and between nations. It's often used in conjunction with the term soft power. Like sports is soft, and its binary opposite is hard power, which is military. But frankly, that framing, I don't think it's no longer accurate. Okay, we've evolved beyond those terms. And the reality is that sports now functions as a serious tool of diplomacy, of influence, of alliance building. And so with that setup, we have 2 practitioners of the space today, Michelle Strauss and David Kerner, to talk a bit more about the amazing work that they do in this space. David Kerner is the co-chair of the 2027 Military World Games that's coming to Charlotte, North Carolina. Also the head of the U.S. Performance Center in Charlotte as well. Michelle Strauss is the head of the Remembrance Project, as well as many other accolades, and a visionary in terms of diplomacy and sport. So I want to, first with you, Michelle, I want to kind of set the stage for everyone to help provide an explanation of some of the work that you do, give some context. Now, the Remembrance Project, it's rooted in a football game that never was. In December of 1944, soldiers had a game planned, but ultimately had to cancel that game in order to fight in the Battle of the Bulge, a key battle for the Allies, a key win in the late stages of World War II. Your organization, the initiative you started, now uses that concept and the memory of that game to help teach civics, to bring people together. For people unfamiliar with that story, can you tell us a little bit more about that history, how this entered into your life, and how a game that didn't happen now 80 years ago has relevance in today's society?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone at the Meridian for hosting this incredible event. I have sat through every interview on this stage, and except the one right before us, which I really wanted to see. But congratulations to the Meridian, and fabulous job. I'm really enjoying it. I hope what I say is relevant and can be helpful. To answer your question, Travis, the game, the Remembrance Bowl, is a game I produce in Normandy every year during the D-Day commemorations. It'll be June 4th this year. It's played between active duty soldiers of the 101st and 82nd Airborne. And what's unique about it is the commanders also play. So the commander of the 101st plays, the commander of the 82nd plays, the commander of 18th Airborne, 18th Corps, Airborne Corps typically plays. Who started this with me is General Donahue. He's the current USIP commander for European Command right now. And so it's unique in that they also play. And the game is based, of course, on a game that was created by soldiers who were at Camp Mormellon in Reims. Reims is the Champagne capital of France. And during World War II, that camp was set aside for soldiers who were battle-wearied, who needed to rest before they were sent back out into battle again. And so part of their R&R, they're nervous. They don't know if the war is going to end, and it's just they're missing home. And so they created this football game, and they called it the Champagne Bowl. And there are some programs in some places throughout the world. The 101st Airborne Museum in Bastogne, Fort Campbell has one in their museum. But the reality is the game never happened because the Battle of the Bulge took place, and they had to drop everything, abandon the game, and go off to the Ardennes forest. Many of them perished there through frostbite, battle. It was one of the deadliest battles in World War II, was the Battle of the Bulge. And so today in Normandy, we play the game that never happened, and we do it to honor those soldiers. When we begin the game, all the soldiers sign each other's jersey as a commitment to camaraderie and to always remember their airborne brethren who couldn't play, who never had that opportunity. And then also, we create a challenge coin so that everybody gets a coin for it. We really do our best to keep and mold a tradition there. But the Remembrance Project is bringing the game home to the United States. So in most of America, high schools have a homecoming game. And so homecoming is about coming home. It's about remembrance. And so the idea is to encourage high schools who don't really have a salute to service like the NFL does, is to encourage them to do this. And so in 2022, which is the first time I invited the 82nd to actually compete with the 101st, I spoke to the recruiters in the Seattle area. I'm from Kirkland, Washington, the Washington has the Seahawks, that has the
She said beforehand she was going to work in the Seahawks
12
early on.
Yeah, I'm a 12. Anyway, and so I went down to this, areas, the South Seattle area, and the two-star from Lewis McCord came up, and there were probably about 31 recruiters there, and I told them about this Remembrance Project idea with his help with recruiting, and you'd think I had delivered them Christmas. It was incredible. And so they somehow got on the recruiter hotline, because within about 48 hours, I was getting phone calls from, Georgia and South Carolina and Texas and California, lacrosse coaches, wrestling coaches, basketball coaches. Everyone wanted a piece of this. When are you going to start? When can we start? So I have a whole list of all of these schools and coaches that really want to do this. They want to have a Remembrance Cup. And so we came up with this idea. The Remembrance Bowl is football, but a Remembrance Cup could be a lacrosse game or a baseball. So actually, this year in Bastogne, we do go there. We are going to have a 1944 flannel baseball game. The U.S. ambassador to Belgium told me he would play, and he already signed up the ambassador to NATO in Luxembourg. So, but that's a more civilian game. In Normandy, regarding what we do there, these are active duty soldiers, so we cannot commercialize the game. There's none of that. But for what we're going to do for the Remembrance Cup, we're able to commercialize. But I'm a little off track, but I hope that kind of helps a little bit with understanding what we do.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit more about what you're doing in classrooms as well to promote civics and patriotism. But first, David, the military World Games is the largest military sporting event in the world. It is the second largest multi-sport event in the world. It is coming to the United States for the first time in 2027, yet in this room, I bet there are very few people who are aware of its existence. It's going to be held in North Carolina, where your organization is based. So tell us, I guess, to help educate this room, tell us a little bit more, because we hear about World Cup Olympics, but 2027 is going to be just a tremendous opportunity for military and sport. So tell us a little bit more about the military World Games. How is it different than watching the Olympics? What should we be looking for? And what will that look like for people that will be tuning in?
Well, thank you. And again, I echo Michelle. This is such a beautiful venue. It's an honor to be here and be able to present and talk about this awesome, amazing event that my business partner and I decided to go after 2 years ago. I think we're a little bit crazy to go after it, but we're located in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're one of the larger residency training programs for the U.S. Olympic movement. We had 176 athletes in the Paris Games, and one of our teams, USA Pentathlon, has a big history with the military, and they said there is this massive event that is, as Travis said, it's the largest military multi-sport event in the world, 10,000 athletes, 142 countries. It was started in 1919 after World War I in a way to celebrate peace and in a way not to be on the battlefield, but their motto is friendship through sport. We put a little spin on that to go with peace through sport, which is the mantra that we're using for this. But so we decided to go after that effort, and it'll be in America in 27 from June 25th. It'll end on American 250 celebration on July 4th of 2027. It should be a very special moment. We'll be hosting it throughout the Carolinas. There's 47 sports, so all of the normal sports that you would think of in the Olympic Games. But then as the host country, we're able to name and sort of Americanize the game. So baseball, softball, flag football have never been in the games before, so they will be entered into the games as a part of this. But then it's military-specific sports like parachuting and orienteering, and all of the different, each one of the branches of the military has their own pentathlon. But this will be in Charleston, in the beautiful harbor, by the Yorktown ship there, which will be amazing with triathlon, and flag football will be at the Citadel with one of our athlete villages. But the majority of the games will be held in Charlotte and then spread throughout the state of North Carolina as well. But there'll be 47 sports in totality as a part of the games. And I think the Olympic Games, I could be wrong, but I think it's 35 events that'll be in LA in 28. So there's more athletes in the Olympic Games, which is obviously why that becomes bigger. But and really to drive down into your question, why none of us really know about it and why we didn't know about it, is that this event has always been awarded, to the Minister of Defense or to the DOD of that country, and then it's always been held on a base. And in the bylaws of CISM, which is the International Sports Military Council, it always had to go that way. So when Ike and I, my business partner, decided to go after it, we had to not only convince the Department of War right now, but we had to convince 142 countries to give it to these two crazy guys that were standing in front of China and other countries bidding for the games against us. And we went through a global tour of Sri Lanka, Brussels, we went all over the Switzerland. We were all over the place, presenting to the board, winning them over, and winning their trust to be able to bring the games to America for the first time. So now it will be Americanized. The big goal was not hold the best message in the world of peace through sport private on a military base where nobody knows what that is. And I think it's fitting now with everything going on in the world that this message needs to be loud and proud. And we're getting very good partners. An awesome stat, and I'll turn it back over to Travis, is over half of the athletes that will participate in our games in 27 will then be participating in LA 28, which is just amazing. So the caliber of athletes is nothing short of what you'll see in the Olympic Games. So to have all of this with FIFA, us sandwiched in the middle, and then the great event of LA 28 following us is just a special moment in American history, which is great.
Well, and digging into that just a little bit more, David, because the fact that our military members or Olympians in other countries often are military members, right? And so I think, can you explain that a little bit more, why that is?
We're one of the few countries in the world where the government or an entity doesn't fund their Olympic movement. And it makes it very hard on the USOPC to be able to supply everything that everybody needs to those athletes. And that's really, Ike's family was involved, and his grandfather was on the board of the Olympic movement for 46 years, his dad for 16 years. So I brought the sports science, he brought the legacy. We combined it together to get back to the Olympic movement. But in these other countries, if you serve and you go to the Olympics, and you don't even have to be in the military, but if you go to the Olympics, that's considered service in that country with the military, so then they're able to participate in these games. So that's why so many, that big percentage will be in LA after us. But America is not like that. So it has to be an active duty soldier, or on the para side, we will have the largest number of para sports that we thought was very important to make a part of the games as well, especially with the military side of it. We'll have 6 para sports there, and they can be veterans. So we may have to bring you out of retirement to come back and compete. So I just learned we're going to definitely do that if you're open for it.
That's fantastic. So I think it's interesting that the Military World Games is kind of brought out of an initiative that was tied into World War I. The Remembrance Bowl comes about because of something that happened with World War II, right? A time in which our country, you could say the trust in civil society was a bit higher than it is today. But I think that's a great segue into what you're doing in the classroom. It's not just the sport, but it's also kind of bringing some of those lessons to kids to demonstrate that the power and the role of sacrifice, of service, of patriotism. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, first of all, in Normandy itself, if you're an American veteran and you go there, whether you're from Vietnam, and a lot of Vietnam veterans show up there, American Airborne, active duty, they show you a tremendous amount of respect. You can get a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 10-year-old come right up to you and ask if they can have a conversation. Well, 2-year-old wouldn't do it, but ask if they'll want to wear your hat. But if they can have a conversation with you, or can you tell us about your service? I mean, they teach down through the generations to respect our American military, the Allied servicemen, but especially American military, and be grateful for their existence because we were there. It's just an incredible experience. Many people, I bring a lot of people over. This year we're bringing Georgetown Prep students over. I bring West Point cadets over. And many times a first experience there is very emotional. We attend a lot of memorial services. We unveil a lot of statues. This year we're unveiling one for General Gavin, the youngest general in World War II. And we're unveiling a plaque for the West Point cadets who served. So I think it's twofold. We want to bring students there, but we also need to bring the appreciation of what our military did in that area back to the United States. And one thing that we need to do in America, I truly feel this, I wouldn't be involved at this at all if my heart were not engaged, is we have a lot to be proud of in our country, and we kind of forget that sometimes in all of our mechanisms of complaint and dissatisfaction. But I think in the classrooms where you start with students who are eager to learn, I think it's important to understand your history. We're all on the same team, and that also plays into our military. it's not a them and an us. We're all together. They are an us as well. They are Americans. And so what we're doing is we're bringing the game home. And so we're encouraging a civic curriculum to take place the week before the game. So by the time the game is played, the students, the school district, district-wide veterans, everyone who's involved, the students especially through engagement throughout the week, they understand more of why that game is being played, why it's called the Remembrance Bowl, the history of the game, and it's much more meaningful for them. So it's something that we're starting with Georgetown Prep. So they're in the Jesuit system. So this, it's all middle schools, middle students all across the country. But like I said, I have a whole list of high school coaches in multiple sports that are looking to do something. So it's really taken off. My staff has tripled since I opened the family office in July, and so I can say that based on how much I'm contacted, it's really something that there's a need for it or a thirst for this. To appreciate our country, and understand that we are all on the same team. So that's kind of an explanation. Is there any other question about that? I mean, everything's different. When you tailor something, so Georgetown Prep's going to create a curriculum, but, I am from a little town called Adna High School. I went to Adna High School in Washington State. There were 33 people in my graduating class. Occasionally I'd ride my horse to school. And this was in late 70s. So they're tailoring it for schools that don't have a lot of funds to do certain things. So they're really looking across all the platforms of different sizes of schools and what they have so that we can make it, something that, is applicable to any school, any size. So.
Yeah. So related to that, David, I think, there's no secret that military recruitment has struggled a bit compared to the past. And I think, tying into some of these things we're talking about, these themes of, the erosion of civic trust and, the lack of sense of service. Talk a little bit about these games in the context of recruitment. Is this a way that the military can leverage with this showcase in the United States the importance of military service, but also, perhaps opening up the aperture a little bit more to understand that there's a lot more to service in the military than kind of the basic things that we know?
Absolutely. Enlisting has obviously dropped, over the last decade. And I think a big part of that, and what we believe can be a big part of the games is, and we've been, at various, in DC quite a bit, as you know, Travis, and we've been working on this to be able to support the enlisting process into the military and really grow. The WCAP program is what it falls under the military umbrella, and that stands for World Class Athlete Program. And there's no home base for it now, and there's only two branches of the military, the Army and the Air Force, that support that mission. So we've been in direct conversations with the Pentagon around that to advance that to all 6 branches and advance that program, because there is a lot going on. It's sort of with sport, and we're all in this room about the love of sport and what it can bring to the world on a bigger scale than just playing a competition. And that goes back into sort of what's happening in the college system and NIL and all this world that we're in right now of trying to navigate this. And we believe that the WCAP program and this can become a robust program that helps answer some of these goals and makes a difference. And it can go from, where these athletes are getting together a few months before they have to go compete against, Olympians in their sport, to where they now are able to be recruited out of high school and have the option of going to college or going and actually being a world-class athlete in the military and travel the world under that umbrella and have an opportunity to participate in the Olympic Games or the military games as you go through that cycle. And there's so many interesting conversations around that right now about how that advancement can happen. And as you identify top athletes, and those scholarships are going away in a lot of sports, except for the mainstream. And I know the Olympic movement is a little worried about that and how that continues, because such a large population of the Olympians come through our college system. So if that sort of starts to deteriorate, then how do we maintain this sort of superior position of athleticism in the United States? And I think the military has a big answer for that.
Yeah. Michelle, so you're here in Washington, D.C. Like David had mentioned, they're engaging in Washington, trying to build support, build momentum around the coming event. But for your work, I'm curious, like the role of the private sector and the role of government. You have in this room leaders in policymaking, in sports management. What is the role that DC can play, that the private sector can play? You're here. What is the message? If there was one thing that you would like to see more of, what would that be? Whether it's non-military, but more specifically with private sector or government.
Well, I just think education. Sorry. I just think education is the key. So I think the more we can support these sort of programs in schools, you know, like with anything, if you educate our children. You know, you're not having to do this later on in their life. You know, you can prevent a lot of things. There's so many great lessons that came out of World War II, and I'm not just focusing on that because, you know, there are a lot of veterans in our country, and our next largest group that we are really working with now are Vietnam veterans. But I have to say education. I really think the support in education, public schools, you know, our tax dollars pay for public schools. It's time to, you know, really have a proper conversation with all our public schools and just really find out what, you know, teach them, you know, proper things, how to balance a checkbook and how to appreciate your country. It still comes back to me to teaching them that we're all on the same team. You know, we're all together in this, and I just think, you know, education is the factor. That's why I've created the Remembrance Project, and I'm, you know, here to see it through to the end. I really, it's in my heart. You know, I really feel strongly about that. It starts with the children. It's like, I'll point out an example. Loved the Paralympics. Now I am a friend of the family of the UIPM, modern pentathlon. I go back to 2011 with this sport. So I've attended a lot of Summer Olympics, even Tokyo, which was just really weird. I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, during COVID, it was 2021, the 2020 Olympics. But it's just a matter of, you know, I just think that I totally lost my train of thought. I was joking. I'm so sorry.
But I think that you touch on something, which is like the role of storytelling, right? I mean,
Exactly.
we've lost now those stories that weren't already told about World War I, World War II, Korea is starting to age out, and like you said, now Vietnam veterans are getting older, and the stories that they have of their journey, that's so powerful.
Yeah, it's if I can bring the feeling of healing that Normandy provides to the veterans that go there, home to America, in the classrooms, that generate the interest. I mean, the French in Normandy, in France, are so grateful to our soldiers. When you go there for D-Day week, you think you're in America at the biggest 4th of July celebration you've ever attended. They wear American flag socks, you know. Their yards are decorated with American flags. Sometimes I can't tell if they're American or French, you know. But the celebrations or the commemorations get bigger and bigger every year. And I just think if you can just grasp that, channel that appreciation and bring it home to our American students and teach them to truly appreciate the sacrifices that our own military made to help others live a better life or live at all, I think that's a worthy cause for everyone to be involved in.
It's powerful. We just have a little bit of time left. I want to talk a little bit about success. So David, briefly, you have the games coming next summer. There's a legacy, though, that comes after this. You're not looking to do one event, dust your hands, and be done and dusted. So for you, what does success look like?
That's a great question, and I think one that keeps me and my business partner up all the time, because it's just, you know, we went after these huge games. The legacy for us would definitely be around letting the WCAP program thrive, allowing that to interweave into the Olympic community movement and what's happening there, and then continue at least once a decade for us to go after big events, like potentially the Pan American Games, and we do believe that, and we talk about it, you know, when we're up late, but it's about like bringing the Olympics potentially to Charlotte in a future cycle. So I think that would mean success to us, is number one, being able to take care of the WCAP athletes now, leading up to the games, and then after the games, have them have a true home in Charlotte. And then the other one would be to continue to run these awesome events and showcase what America has to offer to the world.
And Michelle, the Remembrance Project in 5 years?
In 5 years, in every high school, for sure. and engage the whole school district, pre-K through 12. I stood in a classroom 3 years ago on a trial Remembrance project. I stood in an auditorium. There were probably about 130 second and third graders boisterously singing "She's a Grand Old Flag," boisterously, and it was just brings tears to your eyes. And they have loved every minute of it. I really think it's something that we can do if we have a homecoming game or anything like that. Georgetown Prep's going to do their rival game, not their homecoming, but I just think it's also another thing for me. Success is as we go through administrations and leaders, in charge, presidencies, budgets get cut in the military, and they look at what they can cut. And I think, I planned this. If you can produce something that you can bring home to America that Americans know about that takes place, the Remembrance Bowl takes place over there, you use sport to save this commemoration, keep it alive, because there's so much that can be learned from this. So I deliberately am really making a big tradition out of this. That's why I'm also hosting, a soldier dinner for 400 soldiers at my home there this year. Because I attend so many dinners, and it's just the leadership, the generals that are there, but no one's inviting the soldiers. And so it's time to do that. And so I'm hosting an Allied soldier dinner for the first time.
Michelle Strauss, the Remembrance Project, David Kerner, World Military Games. Thank you, Meridian Center.